Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel and to another video. I hope you're all doing really well, and if you're new here, welcome to my channel. So in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you a technique that I learned a while ago to help with placing individual letters using cardstock onto your designs. So it's for use with really sort of anything intricate that involves small letters on a background. So say for instance you have an offset with your cake topper, a bit like this one here, and you've got each letter or each line of text is individual, and when you come to stick it together it's quite difficult to know exactly where the center of your offset is in order to place it accurately. But this technique really takes away the doubt for you from that, and it's super duper easy to use. There are two different ways of doing it. You can either do it with a debossing tip, or you can do it with a scoring pen as well. So it doesn't matter whether you've got the debossing tip, you can do it with a scoring pen or a scoring stylus as well. So without any further ado, let's jump into Cricut Design Space and see how we do it. Here we are then in Cricut Design Space. We've got our blank canvas on the screen, and what we're going to do first of all is just make a basic name cake topper. So what we want to do is get ourselves some text on the screen. So just click on the text box there, and we've got our little text box come up, and we can just write the name that we're going to be doing. So I'm just going to type in Shelby. Now I'm going to change my font so that it's something a little bit more fun. In fact, let's go on to our bookmarked fonts, because I like to choose from my bookmarked fonts. Let's choose Retro Cookie. This is a lovely font, and it's great for if you're doing any sort of warping. I'll put a link above now for you, and in the description down below, to another video that I did when the warp feature first came out, just showing you how this font performs really when you use it warped. But what we're going to do today is make this into a pink glitter and black cardstock cake topper. So if we change the colour of that to pink to match what we're going to be cutting it out as, I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger. What I'm going to do is select that now, and I'm going to put a small offset against it. So I've just clicked on the offset. You can see that it's pretty chunky. I'm going to just whittle that down a touch. That is 0.35, so 3.5 millimeters of offset. I'm going to apply it so it's now pink and black, and that's the colour scheme that I'm going for with this cake topper. Now as you can see on the cake topper there are a couple of little white areas showing through. Now I don't want those to be seen, so what I need to do is get rid of them. So I'm going to contour those away. So what I want to do is make sure that that layer of the offset is selected, so I can just double check that on the layers panel on the right hand side, and when it's green like this it does mean that it is selected. Then I'm going to come down to the bottom here to the contour tool. I'm just going to click on that, then it's going to bring up my design on the screen. So you can see there's a couple of little spots here that are going to be cut out on the machine, and I don't want them to be. So there's two ways of going about this. If you want to hide certain bits of your design, you can just click on each one individually there, and it will take away those parts. If you want to just contour everything, just click on hide all contours, and that will do the same thing. You don't need to click on the cross, you can just click away from it and it will disappear. So that is better now for me. I'm happy with that. Now the only other thing is this big space here. Now there's a couple of different ways that we can go about fixing that. I'm just going to move Shelby out the way. So you could leave it actually if you wanted to. It's going to cut around it, but it is going to mean this joint here is going to be a little bit more flimsy. Now I would fill this in. You can't do it with contour because it's not a cut-out piece. So what you're going to have to do is come over to shapes and then just choose a shape. Now I like this oval because it's got that same sort of bulbous bottom on it. If I turn it around, you'll see what I mean. So it's going to create a small blob at the bottom. I'm just going to shrink that down, and I'm just going to pop it there. So it's covered up that space, but of course it is two separate layers currently, so we don't want that to be the case. If we just select both of those layers, again you can see on the right hand side you've got the oval and the offset selected. They are both the minty green colour. Come down then to combine at the bottom and click on weld. That is now going to attach that oval to the offset permanently, and that is something that cannot be undone if we continue working. So now what we're going to do is just bring this back up. Because I've made a change to the offset, it's actually brought that so it's going to be in front of my word. So I've just switched that around there. I'm going to just pop that up the top there. Now this is a perfect example of why we're going to do what we're going to do, because now I've got this up here and I can get it back more or less in the centre, but I don't think it's quite right. So I'm going to select all at the top here. Both my layers are selected. Then I'm going to come to align, and then I'm going to click on centre, and as you can see it very slightly moved that Shelby on the black offset. Now of course when you're gluing it together you're going to have the same issue, aren't you? And that's what this technique avoids. So the first thing I'm going to do is just click off this now so that nothing is selected. Both my layers are white in the layers panel. I'm going to click on the Shelby, and then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to click on duplicate, or you can hit Command and D on your keyboard to duplicate that layer. Now there is my layer, and that is the one I'm going to use for my top layer of my cake topper that's going to be cut out with the glitter. So I'm going to hide that for now so I don't get it mixed up with this here. The next thing I'm going to do is come to my weld result, which is now my offset, and I'm going to come up the top to the colours and I'm going to change it to white. Now the only reason I'm changing it to white is so that you can see the change that I'm going to make now with the debossing or the scoring stylus. So let's now select the word Shelby that is still on the screen. Now you can see if you look at the operation type that it is set as a basic cut. If I click on the weld result, it is also set as a basic cut. So what I want to do is adjust it so that Shelby is not a basic cut. It's not going to cut out the word Shelby, it's going to deboss it instead. So let's click on the operation and click on the drop down menu, and then you get all of these different options become available to you. So you can either use score or you can use deboss. I'm going to use deboss today. So click on there. And you can see now it's made that line into a deboss, okay? But it's not attached to our offset. We need to do that. So let's select all again. And I'm going to just click on align, and magically it's going to put it back together for me. I need to make sure that both of my layers are selected. So again, double check it in the layers panel. It takes 2 seconds to just have a quick glance over at that. What we want to do now is attach the deboss Shelby to our weld result. So all we want to do is come down the bottom here to attach and just click on that. Again, if you're using keyboard shortcuts on a Mac, you're going to press Option and A at the same time. That's now attached though, so if I move it around like that, it's not going to move separately like it did before. If I now bring back my other Shelby, and I'm going to just click on select all again, and I am going to align it and hit center again. Let me just move that layer to the front. You can now see that my Shelby that I'm going to cut out with the glitter fits perfectly over that debossed line, and if I just move it you can see it's still there. So let's go through to make it, and what I'm expecting to see now is 2 mats, one with the white and the debossed lines and one with Shelby as individual letters. Okay, there we go, and that is exactly what I was expecting it to look like. So there is the white offset and there is the glittered letters. Let's now go through to continue. It's going to choose my machine. I'm using my number 1 machine today. And when you go through here, because you are using the debossing tool, you're going to have to choose from the materials either on the screen or in the popular menu, or if you don't have any bookmarked, you can click on browse all materials and it will show you which materials you can use the debossing tip on. So there's quite a few different ones here that you can choose to use your debossing tip on. I'm going to set mine to poster board today because I use that setting virtually all the time. Now what it's going to show you on the screen is what you need to do to your Cricut machine in order to set it up so that you can use the debossing tip and make the project how we want to do it. So it's telling us we're going to need the debossing tool in clamp B. Now the debossing tip is number 21. It is depicted on the screen for you there, and also on the debossing tip it's going to show you that there's a little 21 on the side. I'll show you that in just a second. You want to put that into clamp B, and then you want to put your mat in with your cardstock or whatever it is that you're debossing and pop that into your machine. So let's head over to my desk and we'll get that done next. This is everything I'm going to use then for the next step of this project. So this is the debossing tip, and I did say I'd show you this. So this is tip number 21. As you can see there, it is on the side, and it's just got this really tiny little white plasticky blob on the end of the tip, and you wouldn't really think it's going to do very much, but it's amazing what it does do. And this is a quick swap tip, so it goes into a quick swap housing, which is this one here. So it comes with a plunger on the top, so you press it down in order to be able to pop your tip just on the end. Once you let go of the plunger, it is magnetically attached to your housing and to your tip, so it's pretty good and it's really simple and easy to use. If you've got a quick swap housing already, you'll be able to just buy the tip separately. I'll put a link below for you so you can see where I got mine from, and I bought mine during Black Friday last year actually, so it was pretty cheap. I'm not sure how much they are now, but might be worth hanging around until Black Friday to pick one up if you don't need it straight away. The other piece of kit that you can use if you are doing this project is the stylus, which is this here. So this is a Cricut scoring stylus. These are about £8. You can pick these up from Hobbycraft. You can get them from Amazon. You can even pick these sorts of things up now in places like The Works. They do their own like rip-off tool sets for Cricut and that, so it's worth having a quick look. What you do instead of changing your operation type to deboss on the screen like we just have, you would change it to score, and you would put this particular tool into clamp A rather than clamp B, which is this one. So these are my two bits of cardstock that I'm going to use. I'm just using a couple of scraps today. So what I want to do first of all is get my black offset on there. So let's just pop that down and give it a little bray to make sure it's stuck down nicely. And what I'm going to do as well on this occasion is just cut off a small piece of this, and I'm going to pop that at the bottom so I can just flip the mat around. So this is something that I like to do quite a lot, and I'll just cut that off there. Let's put that to one side, and then I can stick this onto the other side of the mat, and you'll see what I mean when I do it. It's super easy to do, and it's a bit of a time saver. So let's head to the machine and get this put in and see what happens next. Right then, we are ready to get the machine set up now. So we need to put the debossing tip into the Cricut. So we're just going to open clamp B. Just going to take out my fine point blade and just pop it in the top there in the iPad holder. Then I've got my debossing tip. I'm just going to pop that into there, close that clamp up. Then I'm going to grab my mat. I'm just going to line that up with the two guides on either side of the machine and just hit the insert mat button. Because we've already chosen the material that we're cutting, the machine is ready to go. So what I need to do is just hit this flash and go button. So when I do that, what's going to happen is the machine's going to draw in the mat and spit it sort of halfway back out again. The carriage is going to move over to this side, and once it does that, what it's doing is detecting that we've got the right tool for the job already inserted into the machine. If you haven't got the right tool, it will tell you on your computer screen, and you can then rectify that. But if you've got the right one in, it's going to start the process of doing the debossing, and then it's going to come up then and tell us once that's done to switch over to the fine point blade and carry on with the cutting. So let's hit the go button. the screen now, it does say that the tool may lift and spin, and it does that just to create the right sort of design on your piece of cardstock. Alright, now on the screen you can see that it's giving us the setup for the next step. So it's telling us that the debossing is 100% complete. As you can see, it's shadowed out behind this box that's popped up, and it's telling us now we need to put the fine point blade into clamp B and then press go. So we don't want to eject the mat. Make sure you don't eject the mat, leave it as it is. Open up your clamp B and pop in your fine point blade, and then just press the flashing C button to move on to the next step. Again, the machine is just going to check it's got the right tool for the job. That's complete now then. So on the screen it's telling us to unload the mat. There is our cutout piece. I'm going to show you that a bit more closely when we've cut the next bit. So this is why I put the other bit of cardstock on the other end of the mat, because it just enables me to turn it round, pop it in, and then again, because I've got the material set on the screen, as you can see, it's ready to go. So I can just hit the flashing C again. Now that the cut is complete, before you eject the mat, I would always recommend that you check that your cut has been successful. So you can just lift up a corner on your mat and just check that that has cut out. As you can see, that has cut through really well. So now I can eject the mat. I'm going to go back to the desk then and show you the next part of the project. Okay then, so we have cut both sections of our project. First thing to do then is remove everything from the mat. So I'd already lifted this bit up, hadn't I? So that's really easy to get off. What I'm going to do is just bend my mat back slightly and just pull off each piece of my design. And then this is the black that's got the debossing on it. You can't see it at the moment, but you will do in a minute. So let's bend the mat back again. I'm just going to pull that up, and then that comes off in one big chunk. So here is our design. So you can see how the debossing has given us a template almost to place down our glittered letters. So what we're going to do is just grab our letters, and just need to make sure, I did notice in the B there was a little bit that just needed to be weeded out. I'm just going to grab my knife and just pop that out there. Perfect. So there's our B. What I'm going to do now is just grab my glue. And you can either glue onto the letters, or you can glue straight onto your offset. And what I normally do is do a couple at a time. So you don't want to go too mad with your glitter, with your glue, but just make sure there's enough on there. And then all I do is grab myself a pair of tweezers, and I just use that outline of that debossing there for a template to place my letters so that each one is going to be perfectly placed. I'm going to zoom you in a little bit so that you can see exactly what I'm doing up really close. So you can see the letters are on there, and the next thing to do is just grab my B, and I'm just using my tweezers again, and it just allows me to get absolutely perfect placement. Obviously I'm using quite a chunky looking font for this one, but if I was doing something that used smaller letters, I'm really going to notice the benefit of this particular technique. So that's really how you do it. It's super easy to do, and I find this to be so helpful, and really adding that extra step of the debossing doesn't take loads and loads of additional time. It just makes life a little bit more simple. Because I'm using a big font, I can actually place them with my hand as well, which is great. And then you'll also find that you'll get quicker at doing things because you've got this easy to use template in place. What do you think of this technique? Do you think you're going to use it? Do you think it'll save you messing about trying to get things straight? If you're using a wet glue as well, it's great because you can move stuff around like this and you don't have to worry about placing it perfectly every single time the first time. You could also use 3D foam pads as well, and I think that's great because you don't normally get 2 shots with a foam pad. You have to put it down perfectly every single time the first time. So that is fabulous. There we go. That is perfectly placed, perfectly centered. I've missed a little bit at the top there, but because my glue's still wet, I can just move it up, and that looks absolutely fabulous. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I would love to hear what you think of this particular technique. I hope you've enjoyed this video and you found it to be useful. If you have, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you again for another video really soon. Take care. Bye bye.